Have you ever felt a love so powerful it echoes across lifetimes? In a quiet town by the sea, two souls bound by fate find each other once again. But with love comes shadows, hidden secrets, forbidden desires, and a curse that won't let go. This time, will love break the cycle, or are some hearts destined for darkness? Love never dies, it only waits. Episode 1, Echoes of You. The bus rumbled away, its taillights swallowed by the fog as if the town itself had devoured it. Jonah stood alone on the wet cobblestones, the only sound the steady drip of rainwater from rusting gutters and the mournful sigh of the ocean. Ravenshade, with its weather-beaten Victorian facades and streets coiled like serpents, seemed to watch him. Every window a dark eye, every alley a mouth waiting to whisper secrets. Jonah adjusted his duffel bag over his shoulder, the weight of it grounding him. The town had a pulse, a rhythmic thrum that synced with his own heartbeat. His empathic senses stirred, brushing against the edges of something ancient. The energy here was layered, like dust settling over decades, and beneath the surface, a darker current flowed, tugging him deeper. He had come to Ravenshade to escape the wreckage of his old life, to find a place where the ghosts of his past couldn't reach him. But as he took his first steps through the mist-cloaked streets, he realized this place had ghosts of its own, and they were already circling him, drawn to the cracks in his soul. He let his feet guide him, slipping through the labyrinth of streets where neon signs flickered and doors creaked open to reveal dimly lit interiors filled with faces worn by salt and secrets. His senses, always too sharp, picked up the faint hum of emotions, the grief of a widow clutching a locket, the quiet rage of a bartender wiping down a glass, the hollow ache of a young man staring into the rain as if searching for a way out. Jonah drew his coat tighter, the cold biting through fabric and flesh. His hands tingled, the first sign that his gift was awakening. He had learned long ago that he could not fight it, only let it wash over him and hope he would emerge on the other side, whole and sane. His mother had called it a blessing. His ex-boyfriend, on the night he left, had called it a curse. He turned a corner, and the world shifted. The sea was suddenly before him, a gray, churning beast under a sky as dark as bruises. The wind snapped at him, sharp with brine, and he saw it then, the boathouse. Perched at the edge of the cliff, it seemed half swallowed by the earth, as if it had grown from the rocks themselves. Its windows glowed with a golden light that cut through the mist, a beacon against the storm. His feet moved before his mind could catch up, a force stronger than his fear pulling him forward. The door was slightly ajar, the wood swollen and splintered from years of salt and rain. He pushed it open, and the world inside swallowed him whole. The air was thick with the scent of paint and turpentine, a sharp contrast to the damp rot outside. Canvases lined the walls, each one a fragment of a story waiting to be told. The paintings were raw and visceral, colors smeared like blood, shadows that seemed to move when he wasn't looking. He felt 1,000 eyes on him, a ripple of recognition from every brushstroke. And then there was Callum. He stood at the center of the room, a brush in one hand, a rag in the other. His hair was a tousled mess of curls, dark as wet stone, and his skin held the kind of pallor that came from too many sleepless nights and too little sunlight. His eyes were what stopped Jonah cold, green with flecks of amber, like sunlight filtering through forest leaves. They were ancient eyes, filled with too much knowing, too much loss. "You're not from here." Callum's voice was a low rasp, his words hanging in the air like smoke. Jonah's lips parted, but no sound came out. His mind raced, words slipping through his fingers. His gift flared to life, and he felt the brush of Callum's aura, a tangled weave of gold and shadow, bright threads frayed and twisted around something dark and hungry. "No," he managed finally, his voice raw, just passing through. A lie. He had nowhere else to go. Callum's mouth curved, not quite a smile. "Ravenshade has a way of keeping the lost." Jonah swallowed. "I'm not lost." A pause. Callum's gaze slid over him, slow and deliberate, as if he were peeling back layers of skin to see what lay beneath. "Aren't you?" The words prickled under Jonah's skin, an echo of doubts he had buried deep. He shifted his weight, his fingers brushing against the rough strap of his bag, an anchor to the present. "What are you working on?" he asked, desperate to change the subject. Callum's expression remained unreadable, but he turned, gesturing to a canvas propped against the wall. Jonah moved closer, his breath fogging in the cool air. The painting was sharp and visceral, a car crash on a rain-soaked road. The metal twisted and glass shattered, a streak of red smeared like a wound. His pulse thudded painfully in his chest. He knew that road. He had seen this crash before. "When did you paint this?" His voice was a tight wire, pulled too thin. Callum's fingers tightened around the brush, the bristles stained crimson. "A few days ago." Jonah's hands trembled. His visions had always been fragmented, a kaleidoscope of moments and emotions. But this was different. It was as if Callum had reached into his mind and pulled his nightmares onto the canvas. "I've seen this," he whispered. "It hasn't happened yet." The room seemed to shrink, the walls pressing in. Callum's expression didn't change, but his aura did. A flare of violet and black, a pulse of fear and something older, sharper. His knuckles were white against the brush, his voice a whisper. "You see things, don't you?" Jonah's chest tightened. His gift rose like a tide washing over him, and he saw it, a flash of memory, not his own. Callum standing over a grave, paint-stained hands clutching a broken locket, blood on his skin, not his own, shadows curling around his feet, whispering his name. "Yes," Jonah said, the truth spilling out before he could stop it. "And you paint them." Callum's eyes darkened, the light in them snuffed out by shadows. "It's not just paintings," he said, voice hollow. "It's echoes of things that have happened, of things that might." "Why me?" Jonah asked. "Why now?" Callum turned away, his silhouette sharp against the golden light. His voice came from somewhere far away, tangled in the mist. "Because you're the first one who's ever seen it. The first one who might understand." The wind howled outside, a sound like teeth grinding against bone. Jonah felt it then, the pull of fate, the weight of the town's secrets settling onto his shoulders. He had come to Ravenshade to escape his past, but now he stood at the edge of something darker, something deeper. And Callum was the key, the lock, the door. Jonah knew he should run, knew that whatever had brought him here was not finished with him. But he stayed, his feet rooted to the cold, uneven floor. His heart beat a rhythm of warning, but his soul leaned forward, drawn to the darkness that curled around Callum like smoke. The storm outside raged, waves crashing against the rocks, and the mist wrapped the town in a shroud. And as the shadows deepened, Jonah took another step forward, into the echoes of a story that had only just begun.